Good morning and welcome to today's video, which is going to be building two garden benches to go along with the dining table that I did in last week's video. If it's your first time here, I'm Carl and I make weekly woodworking videos charting the journey of how I've started this as a business. But today's project is all about our garden and having somewhere to sit down now we've got a table to eat at. So without further ado, let's crack on. So about 6 or 7 weeks ago now, I had all the wood delivered, and at the time, thankfully, I cut them all to rough lengths, and I even wrote on each piece of wood what part of the bench they would be. So this bit was fairly simple. Stack them up in their parts. There'd be legs, supports, backrests, all the sort of things you would find on a garden bench, and got them all ready. Now here I am deciding on what angle to go with, and I end up settling on 7 degrees. In hindsight, I might have gone with 10 just for a little bit more of an angle on the backrest, because the 7 degrees was locked on for every angle and aspect of the bench. So then it was a case of cutting the 7-degree angle on all the pieces of wood that would require an angle. Here I put a 7-degree wedge on a stop block, and then it was just a simple case of butting up to that little wedge and cutting all the 7 degrees again. There's the wedge. So because these benches would need to go under the dining table that I made last video, I needed to make sure that the height of everything, including the slats, was comfortable to sit on at the height of the table, and also that the arms and so on would all fit under the table as well. So I worked all that out, and then I could continue to cut at the same 7 degree on all the other components. And to ensure I maintained that 7 degree when I was putting them on the leg, I clamp 2 pieces of wood at 7 degrees like so, and a little block there, and that way I knew that they would all be in line. This is a template I made to ensure that all the screws were consistent across each leg support, and then it was just a case of applying plenty of glue and driving home some of these 80mm decking screws. And the same again for the other leg, or the back side of the same leg, sort of thing. And I feel that with 4 80mm decking screws and all the glue, it would be quite a strong fit. These are all 2x4 C24 treated construction timber. Plenty strong enough and very sturdy. Here I am just working out the backrest and armrest and seeing how they look, and then it was time to put the backrest to the legs. So using the same template as before for consistent screw holes, I hold it up to the backrest, and it's just a case of marking those holes again, plenty of glue, and driving home the 80mm decking screws once again. And while you watch this, do you know what would be fantastic? If you subscribed and liked the video. If you're into weekly woodworking videos, and I know I am, give it a go. What have you got to lose? Now this is the middle support, which doesn't have any legs, So it's basically the same as the backrest and the slat rest, but there's nothing touching the floor. It's just to give stability. So for this one, I'll put plenty of glue on and drive home a couple of these really large 125mm outdoor construction screws. And that was day one. And in 30-degree heat, I got all the bench slats from the outdoor timber store into the shop. And by utilising the fence on my bandsaw in the distance there, I was able to get all the bench slats to 179 centimetres. Morning and welcome to day two. Now, as you will have just seen, all the main joinery and supports are done. Today is going to be a lot of sanding and basically putting it together. I can't see why it shouldn't be done today, but you never know. So all these slats now are cut the exact same length, around about 179, something like that, but they are a bit rough and we can't have people sitting on this. So there is 28, can you see that? That's, you know, banana time. But there's 27 or 28 to sand smooth. So I'm just gonna put something in my ears and get cracking. Sometimes there's no way around it. You've just got to sand. So without further ado, let's crack on. So rather than break out the router, I just decided to put a small little chamfer with the block plane and then sand up to 120. And it's quite laborious, but I got there in the end, and then I could sand all the other components like the backrest and the legs and so on. Now here I am marking out for the armrest to notch around the back support. And I decided to do that with the jigsaw and the Japanese pull saw, because this cut I'm making now has to be on the 7-degree angle to go around the back support, and it's always good practice to keep your hand in with the pull saw. Sometimes it's the only option, so being accurate and practicing with it is a wise move, I reckon. A little bit of clean up with a chisel. And there you go, a nice fit. But it is a bit long, so I need to cut it down and shape it a little bit. So use a bit of gaffer tape and did this on the bandsaw, which wasn't great, so I did all the others on the jigsaw, and then I brought all the slats down to make the bench in situ. So here I clamp the first slat and get the square out to make sure that that is sitting square to the legs before getting a screw in, and once it was fixed in I could get the back one in, and then I knew the front and the back ones would keep it relatively square whilst I filled in the gap. So what I decided to do is, I knew I was going to use 5 slats, so I find the centre of the bench support and line it up with the centre of the middle slat, and that way then I can just eyeball the other two and keep them equal in between the first and the third and the third and the fifth, and this seemed to work out pretty well. Then here I am measuring the centre so I can get that centre non-leg support in. So I clamp that in and fix it up. I was a bit dubious about this. I'd seen it on a few other bench designs, but you don't really notice, even sitting in the middle, that there are no legs. It's sort of floating, but it sort of keeps it pretty solid. Now there would be 6 slats going up the back, and I use these little outdoor rubber feet as spacers. If I can get it out. Come on, you bugger. There we go. And then it's just a case of going up. I didn't at this point know that there would be 6. I guessed. So I don't attach anything at first with screws. I go all the way to the top. And fortunately it worked out well that these little feet spaced 6 exactly. So I'll put the top support in and then filled in the gaps. Now, because now there are slats here, this armrest required some more nibbling out there where I've marked. So off screen I do that with the multi-tool and then clamp the armrest on, because I don't want screw heads in the top of the armrest, and get a couple of fixings around the back and drive this screw up. Here I'm marking the centre of each leg so I can attach the little outdoor rubber feet, the same feet I attached to the dining table. And then I added some trim on the top, somewhere to put a drink or rest your arm or lean up against, whatever you want to do to your bench. Well, it's not, it's mine, but you know what I mean. Then a little bit of hand sanding just to smooth off some of the roughness, and then the ultimately futile task of adding clear preserve, because in the end we decided it looked a bit too much like a palette, so we ended up going with this colour, which was a light oak decking stain, oil based, and I think it looks a lot nicer than the pale colour. But that was the garden benches. Thanks for watching.